I'm Angela.
And I'm Paige.
Join us as we dive into our obsession with true crime, history, and mysterious stories. We'll explore the intricate details of the corrupt, the cruel, and the calculating.
We assume no responsibility or liability for any errors or omissions in the content of this episode. The Corrupt Podcast is based on the facts and our opinions of the case. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Corrupt Podcast.
In a push to ban animal cruelty, laws have been passed against keeping orcas in captivity. For two orcas in France, Wikie and Keijo, this has left them in limbo after Marineland's closure in January 2025.
You can also support this podcast by joining our Corrupt crew over at patreon.com/corruptpodcast. Early access to episodes, a free gift, behind the scenes, and exclusive content is all happening over there. You can also make a one-time contribution to the Corrupted Fund with our PayPal. Both links are in the episode notes.
We're diving in deep with orcas today, so let's kick off with some information about the largest member of the dolphin family. Orcas are sociable animals living in groups called pods. The members of the pod are led by a female matriarch and her immediate family. Orcas stay with their families their entire lives, with males sometimes separating off for short periods to mate and then returning to their pod. It's an intricate family unit that supports each other. Healthy orcas take care of sick orcas or injured members by catching food for them. The older orcas also help out with raising the young, similar to human families, like grandparents bringing unique parenting perspective for the calves.
Each pod has distinct hunting strategies passed down through the generations. Some orcas in Argentina will beach themselves to grab seals from the land and pull the seals to the pod for other orcas to kill. Others use coordinated attacks with multiple orcas teaming up on seals, sharks, and larger whales. They are incredibly intelligent creatures with the second largest brain of any marine mammal. Like humans, they have high-functioning brain activity, giving them self-awareness, social cues, and empathy. Their empathy isn't just contained to their kind. In 1979, an orca trainer at SeaWorld hurt his ribs during training. The orca used echolocation to access his injuries and then gently pushed him to the edge of the tank.
Orcas are predators. Sometimes they kill just for the fun of it. This is known as surplus killing, and it's not due to bloodlust, but a fun game that leads to their prey's death. Surplus killing is typical for predators in a pack, like wolves or a pride of lions. For orcas, it can be another teaching opportunity for calves, where adults tire out the prey and then let the calves kill it. If the prey, like a seal or dolphin, is alone and vulnerable, orcas also tire it out, kill it, and then leave the body without even eating it.
Orcas can be found in every ocean, preferring cold waters, but they are found in tropical waters as well. In the wild, male orcas live 30 to 60 years, and females have a life expectancy of 50 to 90 years. They have impressive communication skills, reaching up to 100 miles apart in a combination of whistles, clicks, and pulsed calls. Different pods have distinct dialects, allowing them to speak the same language but have pronunciation or accent differences between the pods.
Although it is unusual for wild orcas to attack humans, we're not quite sure why they don't. One theory is that we simply just taste bad. It's also possible they understand humans are another predator, and attacking could have consequences for the pod. Interestingly, beginning in 2020 and continuing today, orca pods have started attacking the rudders of boats from the coast of Portugal to Scotland. The orcas are ramming and biting the boats, and almost always it's young male orcas that are targeting these boats. It's possible that an orca was injured by a rudder and the others are taking revenge. Or maybe it's a playful game to the younger orcas in the pod. Either way, hundreds of boats and yachts have been attacked, left stranded, and 8 have sunk. They aren't interested in the humans, though, because no people have been hurt. The orcas are solely going for those rudders and then leaving.
There is a stark difference in the health of wild orcas and those in captivity. Captive orcas have shorter lives and chronic health issues. 1% of wild male orcas have dorsal fin collapse, but 100% of captive orcas experience the collapse. This is when the dorsal fin, which should be 6 feet tall and straight, bends completely over. In captive orcas, it is due to poor health and too much time above the surface of the water. Captive orcas are also bored with swimming in circles and performing day after day, which leads to aggression amongst themselves and trainers.
Keeping orcas in captivity is a cruel practice, and in most parts of the world, it's becoming illegal. In 2021, France passed a law forbidding the orcas to be held captive for performances, entertainment, or commercial purposes. This law would leave 2 orcas, Wikie and Keijo, in limbo.
Let's jump back in time to 1970. The Marineland in Antibes, France, opened its doors that year. It was the largest marine zoo in Europe, housing orcas, sea lions, dolphins, sharks, and a full aquarium. In addition to the marine park, it also included a water park, polar bear exhibit, mini golf, and a hotel.
Calypso, an approximately 7-year-old female orca, would be the first orca at France's Marineland, arriving in June 1970. Just 6 months earlier, Calypso had been captured along with 11 other orcas in British Columbia, Canada. The Marineland pool construction wasn't complete, so they transported her 37 hours to England and kept her in a warehouse for 6 months before sending her across the world to the French Riviera, where Marineland was located. Calypso would only live another 6 months, dying in December 1970 after developing an abscess in her lung.
An approximately 2-year-old male orca calf, Clovis, would arrive at Marineland in October 1970, giving the park 2 orcas for a few months that fall. Clovis had been captured in an event known as the Pen Cove Orca Captures. On August 8, 1970, more than 80 orcas were rounded up and captured, including 7 calves from Pen Cove, Washington. The Pen Cove Orca Captures had been funded by marine parks such as SeaWorld, Miami Seaquarium, and Marineland. Most of the orcas were returned to the ocean, but 7 young orcas were sent to different marine parks around the world.
During several events between 1970 and 1972, 13 orcas were taken from their pods. They were primarily the Southside resident orca pod, and it had some horrifying long-term consequences. Orcas have strong family bonds, and a significant amount of the pod was captured. It led to at least 3 generations missing from the pod. The Southside resident orcas became critically endangered, and the pod left Pen Cove, Washington for 52 years. The Southside residents did not return to the cove until November 3, 2024. Even then, the pod only went partially into the cove before exiting and entering again the next day. These orcas have long lives, and even after 52 years, they still remember exactly what happened to their family in that cove. This shows their intelligence and just how heartbreaking the loss was for their family. In 2020, the Southside population of orcas is just 75 whales.
That's low, isn't it?
Crazy low. And that shows you just how hard it hit them when 3 generations were skipped because babies were taken.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is they understand they're being kidnapped.
Yes.
It sucks. Like they're just as intelligent, if not more intelligent than us, and they understand that.
Absolutely. And in this event, the family, like the pod units, could have swam away from their babies, and they didn't. They stayed right there, hoping that there was a chance that they could rescue them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just devastating. That's horrible. The animal abuse there.
Let's take out the mama bear term and insert mama whale here.
Right. From now on, I want to be referred to as a mama orca.
Yeah. Mama orca. Love that.
I was creeping online the other day and I found stickers of what the orcas are doing to the yachts in Portugal and up the coast with attacking the yachts.
Did you buy them?
I am going to buy them. Yes.
Of course.
There's a picture of an orca and it's underneath the yacht and it says, "Eat the rich." And I got a good laugh out of that. I love orcas.
Well, it's ironic and quite hilarious that they're doing this to the boats. They're not even hurting the humans.
No.
I don't even know, what the extent is, if the humans go into the water or not, and they're just, left there just swimming. The orcas clearly have a chance to go for the kill, but they don't, and they're just F your boats, pretty much.
Yep. One of the rumors is that a matriarch of one of the pods may have been hurt by a rudder, and now all of the young orca males are just out for the rudders. We don't know who the matriarch would be. There's no support for that theory, but just all of a sudden, 2020, maybe people were out boating more, it was COVID, a lot more boats out on the water.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think about what's going on in the world at that point too.
I just imagine these pack of orcas being teenage boys.
Mm-hmm.
And they're yeah, come on, man. We got to go get those rudders.
Carl, they got a yacht over there. Takes it down. Carl the orca. That doesn't sound like a very young orca name.
I feel like these orca names are similar to Avatar names.
Like the blue people Avatar?
Yes, the aliens. But in the second movie, it's called The Way of the Water. So they have a lot of marine animals, and their names are just so interesting. And these names that we're talking about here remind me of those names.
Later on, we have a Moana.
Yeah, they didn't have a Moana in that movie, but there is a Moana movie. So, because a step further there.
Yeah.
2 months after his capture, Clovis was moved to Marineland in October 1970. Clovis and Calypso didn't get along, so he was kept in isolation. After Calypso's death, Clovis became the only orca and was still living a solitary life. Clovis would live in captivity for 30 months before his death at approximately 4 years old.
They had kidnapped a child from his mother and placed him in solitary confinement.
Poor Clovis. The orca pool would stay empty for 3 years. Then in 1976, Marineland made the news for having the first Icelandic orca in captivity.
A 10-year-old male orca named Kim had been captured and was the first Icelandic orca to survive captivity for any length of time. In the late 1970s, Kim made the news for grabbing his trainer in his jaw and holding him at the bottom of the pool for several minutes before releasing him. Kim had poor health while in captivity at Marineland, and after developing a lung abscess, he would die on July 4th, 1982, at approximately 14 years old. There have been anywhere from 8 to 13 orcas transferred to Marineland since 1970, and 6 orcas were born in captivity at the marine park.
I like how we talked about all these names for the orcas and how interesting they are, and the next thing we say is Kim, a 10-year-old male orca. The most basic name there is. I just find that funny.
There's very few that have names like Kim. He's kind of an anomaly.
Yeah. In June 2001, Wikie was born in the Marineland pool. She is 100% Icelandic orca with parents Sharkin and Kim too, both having been captured off the coast of Iceland in the 1980s.
Wikie became famous in 2008 as the first orca to mimic human speech. Using the do-as-I-do training method, Wikie was taught to respond to hand gestures with desired behavior, like repeating a word, and slowly the gesture was removed, leaving Wikie with the ability to mimic sounds on command. This training method has been successful in dogs, birds, and primates. Orcas don't speak with their throat, so Wikie is mimicking these sounds by using her nasal passage.
Here is Wikie saying the name of her trainer, Amy, along with hello and bye-bye.
Hello. 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 Amy. 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 Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
To be clear, Wikie does not understand the language. She has been trained to mimic the sounds.
It does sound cool, but it's by no means something an orca in the wild would do.
I mean, my cat mimics me.
With language?
With her meows. It's the pitch, I think. It's the pitch that does it for me. I'll say hi to her and then she'll just meow to me in the same pitch.
Oh my gosh.
And she's like, something's wrong with her in the head. I don't know. There's some crossbreeding in her family. So she can mimic me. I think that's a pretty simple thing to do. That's a lot to say. It's a lot for her. You know what I mean? So I think an orca would be able to do it simple as can be.
On July 17th, 2009, 8-year-old Wikie pushed a trainer underwater and around the pool during an exercise that was witnessed by Marineland visitors. It's not been determined if she was playing and it got out of hand or if she was being aggressive during the incident. 2 years later, in March 2011, Wikie gave birth to her first calf, a son, Moana. Initially, the calf's gender was thought to be female, and it was later discovered that Moana was male. But since the name had already been announced, Marineland decided to keep it.
In November 2013, Wikie gave birth to a second son, Keijo. In both pregnancies, artificial insemination was utilized. In Keijo's case, Marineland was apparently not worried about inbreeding. Keijo's father is Valentin, who would also be his uncle because Wikie and Valentin are siblings.
Just like your cats, they weren't so worried about inbreeding.
I know, I'm pretty sure my cat's dad is also her brother. There's just so many litters.
Oh no.
There's so many litters, apparently.
Sorry, not to make fun of your cat. It just was the perfect opportunity with inbreeding.
She's special, and I take care of special things, so special.
There you go.
The tides were finally turning on marine parks due to new legislation to protect orcas. The California Orca Welfare and Safety Act became effective in January 2017, and it prohibited keeping an orca in captivity for entertainment and performance purposes. It also ended captive breeding programs and importing or exporting genetic material. It was a groundbreaking law that set a new standard for San Diego's SeaWorld location.
SeaWorld San Diego was forced to change their theatrical orca show to an orca encounter, making it more educational. They were now also limited in their ability to breed the orcas in their care. SeaWorld announced in March 2016 that they would no longer breed orcas at any of their locations, not just the California location. The 8 orcas between SeaWorld's locations will be the last generation. The statement came as no surprise. Since the 2010 death of trainer Dawn Brancho and the 2013 documentary Blackfish, SeaWorld had been under the public's criticism. Blackfish is a horrifying documentary showing the cruelty in removing orcas from the ocean and the dangers of keeping them captive. Most of Blackfish is about Tilikum, an Icelandic orca taken from the wild in 1981. He was sent to Sealand in Canada, where Tilikum, along with 2 female orcas, drowned part-time trainer Kelty Byrne after she tripped and fell into their pool. The 3 orcas all played a part in attacking Kelty, but witnesses in Blackfish say it was Tilikum who pulled her into the water after she slipped. Kelty only had 10 teeth marks on her body, but she had been held in all 3 orcas' mouths until she drowned.
A side note here, Kelty Byrne, she was a swimmer, right? Like a really good swimmer.
She was. Like an award-winning swimmer.
Yeah. I almost wanted to say Olympic, but I don't think she was in the Olympics. She was just a really good swimmer.
Yeah, I think she participated in school.
Mm-hmm.
But she was a better than average swimmer, without a doubt. And all that she did was just trip into the pool.
Yeah.
And she was so young.
Less than a year later, Tilikum was sent to SeaWorld Orlando. In 1999, 27-year-old Daniel Dukes was found deceased and draped over Tilikum's back. SeaWorld has no real explanation for how Daniel found access to the pool, and security reports that they hadn't heard a sound overnight. The official statement is that Daniel died from hypothermia and drowning, but Tilikum had also attacked Daniel. Divers were sent to clean up at least 3 different pieces of human tissue, and Daniel's genitals had been bitten off.
The fact that Daniel is draped over Tilikum's back is interesting too. how would Daniel have still been on his back unless Tilikum was holding Daniel's foot or something?
Yeah, I agree.
Daniel was described as a pot-smoking drifter by the press, and SeaWorld's statement continued by saying there were no surveillance cameras in the breeding tank where Tilikum was located that night. Right.
So that tank that Daniel got into was a breeding tank?
Right, that's just where they were keeping him.
Okay. I wonder if he knew, like, they used Tilikum for pretty much insemination, you know, like those kinds of purposes.
Right.
Because it's weird to me that he would come in there. He removed all his clothing. Like, he jumped in naked.
Yeah.
According to what Blackfish said. And I mean, that's the reason why his genitals probably were bitten off too, because he was naked. Nothing was tucking anything in. You know what I mean?
Yep. I got the visual there. Yep. The way SeaWorld tries to swing it is that he's a pothead and he just wanted to swim with an orca, and they have no idea how Daniel ended up in the tank.
Well, I hope he lived his life of what he wanted to do, his last minutes that he wanted to do, swimming with an orca naked. Could have been his dream. Who knows?
They sell it like Shamu. He's such a nice, kind orca that just wants to put on a show. So maybe Daniel didn't realize what a predator that an orca is. If you only ever looked at a SeaWorld commercial, you'd think Shamu was the nicest orca ever. But he didn't get Shamu. He got Tilikum.
Yeah. There's just so much about that situation that I'm like scratching my head about.
Yeah, there's no way that they don't have it on surveillance exactly what happened. You're not telling me they have orcas in tanks and no surveillance on them.
Right.
Then in 2010, Tilikum's trainer Don Brancho was also killed by Tilikum. During a resting portion of the show, Don patted Tilikum's head and he appeared to have grabbed her arm in his mouth and pulled her into the water. Once in the water, Tilikum thrashed around with Don in his mouth until she drowned. Her injuries were extensive and the attack was obviously from Tilikum's aggression. But SeaWorld, they blamed Dawn for her ponytail coming in front of Tilikum's face because she was too comfortable with the orca.
Dr. Naomi Rose was interviewed in a 60-minute Australia segment titled "The Shocking Moment a Killer Whale Attacks Its Trainer." Naomi said,
"Personally, I think he didn't mean to kill her, but he was angry or upset or disturbed about something and he took it out on her and she died. I don't know what happened that day. I'm not sure Tilikum knows what happened that day." After watching Blackfish, this seems to me that it was a temper tantrum from an 11,000-pound orca.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Dawn had worked at SeaWorld for more than 15 years, but they showed her zero loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, they explained in the show that he was doing a trick and they blew the whistle and somehow he didn't hear it or he was misbehaving right then and there.
Yep.
He just kept on going. And so they didn't give him the treat of fish that they would normally do because they thought he disobeyed, when he clearly could have not heard it as well. But the fact is that he's very intelligent and he probably took that offensive. Like, I did what you wanted me to do. I even did it to the point where I couldn't stop and I didn't get rewarded.
Yep, he went all the way around the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It almost seems like you're arguing with a giant 2-year-old.
That whole tidbit of SeaWorld blaming Dawn, whether it was what she was doing wrong or her ponytail was too long or whatever, you cannot blame her. A person died.
Right.
She was clearly murdered in front of a lot of witnesses. You can't blame her for something that, I don't know. The whole thing's jacked up. She's a very smart trainer. She knew what she was doing. But with animals, like, you can't ever fully trust them because they don't know our language, right? They just know their animalistic language.
Right. He just knew that he was mad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's blameless here through and through. You're working with a predator. at some point they're going to attack. In Dawn's case, I'm not sure it was that way, but she's clearly blameless here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she lost her life. She'd been working there for 15 years.
And Tilikum shredded her, like, completely.
Yeah.
Like, I believe he ate her arm. He scalped her. He did many things to her that were ruthless. I don't want it to seem like we're blaming Tilikum, because obviously we did it to him first. We're putting him in captivity, and that's like the most abusive thing you could do to a wild, beautiful animal.
Yep.
But a life was lost, and he did it quite ruthless.
He did. And that's the third time.
Yeah.
There should have been way more precautions involved, because this is the third death.
And there's a reason why they kept him.
Yep.
In 2021, France followed the United States by passing a law against orcas in captivity. Their determination was that concrete tanks are inhumane. The law also prohibited live shows involving orcas and dolphins and required Marineland to relocate them by December 2026. Like SeaWorld, France's Marineland had also been under scrutiny following Blackfish, and the 2015 death of a 12-year-old orca, Valentin, after his pool flooded with muddy water.
On the first weekend in October 2015, a torrential downpour along the French Riviera caused flash flooding. 17 people died in the flood that also shut down Marineland's filtration system, chilling system, and overflowed the tanks with muddy water. At the time, there were 5 orcas and numerous sea lions, dolphins, and penguins requiring the water filtration and cooling systems.
Aerial photos of Marineland after the flood showed all 5 orcas swimming in muddy water. Then 8 days later, Valentin would be found dead. His cause of death was initially undetermined. In a later statement, Marineland said that his death was not related to the flooding, but instead was intestinal torsion or twisting of the bowel. Valentin was just 19 years old.
When Marineland finally reopened 6 months after the flood, the park was run down and in poor condition. In the orca tank alone, the water was still murky and green. It's hard to describe the condition of this tank without seeing it. So we're going to post a photo to our socials and on our Patreon, because it is green and nasty water, and you can see 3 of the 4 remaining orcas swimming in it. And this is what it was like when they reopened the park. So you can only imagine what it was like while the park was closed.
Yeah, it looks like lake water.
It really does. Like, it is some nasty water.
With the park reopening, more than 250 people lined the streets protesting the treatment of the animals. Some even dressed like orcas and held signs saying "Free prisoners from Marineland." Multiple complaints were filed against Marineland for animal cruelty as well, citing the orcas were in poor health with lesions, illness, and signs of aggression, like the orcas banging their heads repeatedly on the glass tank.
Then, Wilkie's son Moana died suddenly from acute bacteria septicemia on October 17, 2023. His death was actually no surprise at all, because 12-year-old Moana had been in poor health since at least 2021, when French animal rights group One Voice filed a complaint saying Moana
was wasting away, his skin, the sudden collapse of his dorsal fin, his stereotyped behavior, and the state of his teeth, all expressing his distress. It was nothing more than a cry for help.
Moana had suffered from subdermal wounds on his chin, which were gray, pink, and brown patches on his skin, indicating he was suffering from an infection or pollutants in the water. Moana's dorsal fin should have been 6 feet tall and straight, but between 2021 and 2023, it curled completely over onto his back.
Captive orcas show signs of boredom and aggression by chewing on the concrete tank and gates separating the tanks. This leaves 45% with moderate dental damage and 24% of orcas with extreme damage. Beginning in January 2023, Moana had a dental operation that lasted weeks to remove teeth and pus from his jaw. The post-op care, which included draining the infection daily, continued for 292 days until his death.
Just baffles me. 292 days, he had daily draining of infection from his mouth and his jaw.
I know, shoot, I hate the dentist as it is. Man, I wouldn't be able to handle 292 days.
Every single day, and it is painful stuff. This left 3 orcas at Marineland: Wikie, Keijo, and Wikie's brother Anouk. Marineland was actively looking to rehome all 3 orcas, but without luck. They announced they were planning to transfer the 3 orcas to Japan, but the French government stepped in to stop the transfer. Japan has less animal welfare laws than Europe, meaning that orcas would travel a long distance to experience the same or worse conditions. All 3 orcas were in declining health, and the long distance to a Japan marine park would be risky for them.
Then just 6 months after Moana's death, Anouk died after ingesting metal from his tank. Anouk had ground his teeth to a pulp, and since back in 2010 had required medication to help his appetite.
That's 14 years of medication for a whale that was only 25 years old when he died.
Anouk may have been suffering from severe pain due to the chronic infection in his jaw. He also suffered from gum ulcers, infections to his throat and tongue, dorsal fin deformity, and showing signs of aggression towards his trainers.
After being separated from his sister, then both parents dying shortly after, Anouk became depressed. He hit his head against the glass walls of his tank over and over. He also began ripping at the concrete and metal pool until he eventually ingested the metal.
Marineland announced its pending closure of the French location in December 2024. They stated closure was the only option after the ban on orca and dolphin shows, which brought in 90% of their visitors. During the next month, almost 4,000 animals were rehomed.
After 55 years, Marineland closed its doors on January 5th, 2025. This left 23-year-old Wikie, 11-year-old Keijo, and 12 bottlenose dolphins trapped in limbo. There has been discussion on moving the orcas to a sanctuary in Greece or Nova Scotia. The problem with this plan is that the Greece sanctuary hasn't even been built yet. Ground has been broken for the Nova Scotia Whale Sanctuary project, but it is also nowhere near capable of taking Wikie and Keijo at this time.
Wikie and Keijo and 10 of the dolphins were bred in captivity, so releasing them to the ocean is not a viable option. In 2023, marine mammal biologist Hannah Strager had this to say about releasing the animals into the ocean.
It's a bit like taking your dog out of the house and sending him into the woods to live freely as a wolf. Those whales that have spent their entire lives in captivity, their closest relationship is with humans. They are the ones who have provided them with food, care, activities, and social relations.
I don't quite agree with the statement because I do feel like being the intelligent marine mammal that they are, what kills killer whales in the ocean? Is there anything? Like, are they the highest predator?
They're pretty high up on the list as far as predators go. But I think a lot of it is they've never had to fight for their food. So if they come up to a shark, for example, something that in a pod they would have been able to handle, now they're not going to know that they can fight off a shark. They've never had parents and grandparents bring them the seal so they can learn how to kill it, like if they had had a family unit in a pod.
Well, it brings me to a point of like, they still have a natural instinct to kill, right? Because they're killing humans.
They do.
So I feel like if they were released into the wild, they would be able to learn quickly because they're dragging these humans down. They're killing them. That's their natural instinct, even though maybe they do or they don't mean it. I don't know. But regardless, in Dawn's case, like her arm got eaten. It was still something that the whale ate. I don't 100% agree with that statement just because I feel like there is a chance that they could live because they are on like the top predatory list. I feel like no other creature could really kill them. I mean, if a shark comes after them and nips them, that killer whale is either gonna swim away or defend itself. Natural instinct.
I don't know. I don't think they stand a chance. Like they have been so sheltered that they wouldn't know what to do to catch food. I think they would probably just starve to death pretty quickly. Also, they don't have a pod, and I'm not sure that a pod would take them in because they're adults. It's not like a calf. They stay in their pod. Wikie would have to be the matriarch, and then you would have to hope that Keijo breeds and brings a family into a new pod, but they're a 2-whale pod.
Yeah, I 100% understand that for sure.
I believe that marine biologists at this point are saying that it would be more cruel to actually release them into the ocean than it would be to let them die here. Like, that's how bad it would be. I think they've got to move quickly here. Like, whatever the plan is, we need to make a plan and we need to execute it now because they can't continue living this way.
That would be my first option for them, sanctuary, for sure. I would want them to be taken care of. They've been in captivity their whole lives. They need to be taken care of. Marineland is required to provide care and food for the 2 orcas and 12 dolphins, but it's very minimal. The orca pool is covered in green algae and the pool itself is starting to crumble. Wikie and Keijo only know a life of putting on a show and having human interaction multiple times a day. Now there are very few people. It's just the 2 of them floating alone day after day.
The ecology minister of France initiated 2 attempts to help the orcas, and both have failed. In February 2025, a conference was held with the hope of building a European whale sanctuary. This sanctuary would have been funded by France, Spain, and Italy, but the plan has many potential issues. To start with, the 3 countries have to decide where the sanctuary would even be located, and the construction alone could take years. Then in April, the French government and Marineland agreed to move the orcas to Spain, but this plan also fell through when Spain shut it down from their side, citing that the pools were not big enough for the whales. But what about the dolphins, Spain? You guys could take the dolphins. They take up less space.
Right? The story of Wikie and Keijo made international news in June 2025 when videos appeared online by Seth Lawless. Seth specializes in photographing abandoned places around the world. That June, Seth released 2 videos. The first was drone footage of Wikie and Keijo and the dolphins. It's an eerie video. The whole park is abandoned. Then you have these 14 animals trapped in algae-filled captivity for more than 6 months.
The second video shows Seth climbing over fences and through overgrown brush to reach the orcas. He is arrested by the police or Marineland security team and removed from the park. Both videos have been shared millions of times, receiving praise for his bravery, but also backlash for the dramatized videos. To be clear, no one is defending Marineland. The backlash is solely about the videos claiming that the park is full of security, and the orcas starting to perform for the drones because they're so lonely. The park is running on minimal staff, and unless the security team is really good at hiding, I didn't see them in that video at all. The orcas do look incredibly bored, like they're just floating there, and they're definitely not getting enough human or whale interaction.
Actors William Shatner and Corey Feldman even got involved begging the French president to find a solution quickly that would save Wikie and Keijo. In August 2025, another video surfaced, and this one was equally as disturbing. The drone footage shared by animal rights group Tidebreakers shows Marineland staff sexually stimulating Keijo. In the August 12th video, Wikie was separated into another pool and Keijo is on his back with 2 trainers beside him. Following the video released by Tidebreakers, Marineland had this to say.
In order to avoid inbreeding with his mother, but also to prevent him from fighting and injuring each other, Marineland decided to sexually stimulate Keijo to relieve him of his tensions. Although spectacular, this is natural and totally painless for the animals. I see what they're trying to get at, but I just don't think that was worded correctly at all.
No.
It's very possible that Marineland isn't just relieving his tension, but planning to sell the semen for artificial insemination. This would be illegal in France, but not Japan, where Japan only has female orcas. So they're trying to breed.
Yeah, the whole thing is wonky. So they give them minimal interaction with, humans, and then they give them minimal food, but they have time to sexually stimulate Keijo. It doesn't make any sense to me. Just take that time and give them like human interaction or something,
Can you clean the pool in that time? Like, can you pick up a sponge or something?
Mm-hmm.
Little robot to clean some algae like you would a normal pool?
Yeah.
Literally anything else to do.
Yeah. I pulled up the video. I didn't want to see it, but I did pull up the video and I'm like, I don't know what I feel about that.
The ick. They don't even have gloves on.
They don't wear gloves. The thing is humongous.
Well, he's a giant animal, so yeah. I'm so glad you looked up the video and I was not the only one horrified. Though I'm also sorry that you looked up the video and are equally as horrified.
Well, I remember you talking about it, so I was like, okay, I have to look this up because I don't want to see it, but for the purpose of this podcast, I will for all of you. So I did it. I looked it up and it was horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can take any advice from Paige and I, do not look it up.
Don't look it up.
Marineland also stated the sexual stimulation is done once a month with a veterinarian present. It's just another reason why Wikie and Keijo need to find a sanctuary quickly.
Marineland in France isn't the only Marineland location to abandon animals after the park closed. Their Canadian park left behind 30 beluga whales, 4 dolphins, 3 seals, and 2 sea lions. To top it off, Marineland is threatening to euthanize the beluga whales if Canada does not provide financial assistance for their care. The Canadian government rejected the financial assistance, but they have also rejected allowing the sales of the belugas to China. The majority of the belugas were born in captivity, so releasing them into the wild is again not an option. Just like in France, this leaves the whales in a state of limbo that could result in their death.
In France, a task force has been created to find a solution for what is undoubtedly animal cruelty. One solution recommended by tidebreakers is to build temporary tanks until a sanctuary can be constructed.
On December 13, 2025, the France Ministry of Ecological Transition made a formal declaration on Wikie, Keijo, and the dolphins' fate. The dolphins will be kept in temporary basins, pending the opening of a dolphin center at the Zoo Parc de Beauval.
Wikie and Keijo will be sent to the whale sanctuary in Nova Scotia. The move is planned for the summer of 2026, but at this point, the sanctuary is still in the final planning and fundraising stages. When construction is complete, the goal is to provide a seaside sanctuary using an open bay and a large netted area. For the first time, Wikie and Keijo will feel real ocean currents and experience ocean life while still having their health and safety taken seriously by whale sanctuary staff.
So the world is watching and waiting for a quick solution that would save these animals not just in France, but also in Canada. The plans are still tentative, and Marineland Antibes has until December 1st, 2026 to move Wikie, Keijo, and the 12 dolphins. To help Wikie, Keijo, and the Whale Sanctuary Project, you can donate at whalesanctuaryproject.org. We'll drop the link in the episode notes as well.
Stay tuned and we'll post updates to our socials in another episode as we have more information about the fate of Wikie and Keijo.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
We would love for you to become part of the Corrupt crew. You can find us on Patreon with multiple tiers and PayPal. This will score you our appreciation and will announce your name in a future episode. Both links are in the episode notes. Case suggestions and feedback can be emailed to us at corruptpod@gmail.com.
The sources for this episode would be listed in the episode notes. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Don't forget to subscribe to catch our new Corrupt content. Please also leave us a review wherever you're listening to this episode. Bye!
Bye!